Happy Friday, everyone. Good morning. It's day 15 of Walk with Winston, and it's Friday. Today is a very special Friday because for many parents here in Tampa, Hillsborough County, they're waking up to send their little one to their first day of school. This is one of the 2 days a year that people in Tampa, drivers in Tampa, absolutely dread. The first day of school is one of them because the traffic all of a sudden doubles. So I remember my first summer I moved here. I was commuting over to the airport area pretty regularly for work, my consulting job with United Way. And I was always asking, so what is it like to live in Tampa? I was trying to get a feel for it. And one of the things that people told me was, about this time of year, they said, oh boy, you better add another 15, 20 minutes to your drive because when school starts, not only are the buses on the road early in the morning, but so are all the parents that are driving their kids. So if last school year is any indication, any time now, there should be a bus running behind this corner here, rolling through the neighborhood to pick up the little ones and take them off to their first day of school. So you've been warned, Tampa drivers. Add another 15 minutes to your commute today just so that you don't get behind all the helicopter parents and all the school bus drivers that are going to be out on the road today. And that reminds me, I want to say hello, shout out to my dad and Kat, who worked in the school bus system for many years in my hometown of Chesapeake. And while the Chesapeake the schools in Virginia don't officially start until the day after Labor Day, they very well remember those first day of school challenges with parents getting the little Johnny's bus stop moved so that their precious one could walk right out the door and right onto the bus. Heard some great stories about that. Well, happy Friday, y'all. Boy, this week has really gone by fast. I might be because of being home for a week, just the routine and being able to get things done, get things off the list has just been through the roof this week. So very appreciative and thankful for that. So let's talk about the Win the Gift model. That is what we're working with in terms of rewiring our mindset to think about change in a new way. We've, in the first handful of videos, we talked about all the mental constructs we've got about change and how we've languaged change in our past to make it more daunting, difficult, and distracting than it needs to be. And so this first part of Win the Gift model is really about rethinking, changing our mindset about change. And so in step one, we talked about breaking down the goal, breaking down what we're trying to achieve into winnable parts. Begin to change that mindset of seeing that the change that we aspire to is doable. Not only it's doable, it's inevitable because we're relying upon our own experience of prior success in doing it before. We have we've seen others achieve it, and so we're able to take ideas and energy from their success, or that we've chunked it down into small enough bites that we're actually seeing incremental progress towards our goals. So, getting that concept of, hey, this is doable. Not only doable, it's done. So that winnable is step one. Yesterday we talked about step 2 is making it inspiring. And so that process of breathing in and receiving the strength from our Holy Father, that this is consistent with his desires in our life, and that we are aligning ourselves with the very best that he would want for us in our life, and to draw upon the inspiration we have in others, anything that really gets us motivated and gets that feeling built into our heart and soul that this is not only winnable, but gosh, I can actually feel it. It's not just a mental exercise in my head. I can feel the success. I'm stepping into that new life, breathing in all the motivational things that we can get. And by the way, the other dimension of this inspiring piece to me is filling our minds with positive, uplifting content. It is amazing to me. I was going through a really stressful time about a year ago. I just felt overwhelmed and tired and just in conflict with myself over and over again. And so I couldn't figure out what was going on. I mean, I love new things, and I enjoy new challenges. It's one of the things that kind of fires me up. But in this season, especially last summer, I just felt really depleted and overwhelmed. And then I realized I was watching a lot more news content on my YouTube channel and on my TV, and a lot of it just before I was going to bed. It's like, oh my goodness. Number one, I was just really into FOMO. I just didn't want to miss out on all the intrigue that was going on in the news. But gosh, it was just depleting me. It was so negative. And more importantly, there was nothing I could do about it. There was no action I could take that was going to fundamentally change that news cycle. So I stopped doing that, and my rest is substantially higher, my peace is greater, and I make it a point to seek out positive content. My son was emailing me or texting me yesterday about a particular guru online who he was listening to some of his content. I said, you know what? I just don't know about him. There's something about him that just doesn't feel congruent to me. He's very popular. He's got a lot of followers. He's done amazing things in his business, but there's something about him. And my son said, oh yeah, he's kind of coarse with his language. I said, bingo. That's exactly right. My mom used to say that people who cussed all the time had a vocabulary problem. That's true. They can't figure another way out to language it such that they could express themselves without trying to shock the heck out of other people. So I just have gotten to a place in my life that I don't tolerate that. And I just don't allow that kind of content in my head. So the other dimension of inspiring is to find those content providers that you align yourself with. There are millions and millions of podcasts out there, and the ones I listen to are the ones that inspire and uplift me, up-level me, and challenge me, and do it in a way that their faith is either they're living their faith and you can see it, they have something unique and special about their life that you want to emulate, or some people are really out there with their faith and they're sharing, and it's like, whoa, that's something I hadn't considered before. So I find that content very, very helpful and inspiring, for lack of a better word. So today we're talking about rewiring the mind about change. And so the third dimension that I'd offer up to you today is make the change novel. Now, This is going to be a little counterintuitive. Isn't the whole process of change novel? Meaning, some of the fear and some of the challenges we have with change, it is already uncertain. It's already very, very different than what we're anticipating. So I'm not really addressing it from that dimension. I'm addressing it from a gamification process. So think about how games that are novel keep your interest, keep you excited, keep you coming back for more. And that's the dimension of novel that I'm talking about today. So, to take a page out of that book, I am walking a different path today. So those little kids who are getting on the bus are having a novel experience today because it's been many months. In some cases, it's their very first time on being on a school bus. Don't you remember? Think about some of the big memories of your life. And what is it that is consistent about the big memories of your life? And for me, a lot of the memories that especially from long, long ago, is it was a novel experience. I can remember exactly where I was, some cases what I was wearing, some cases the music that was playing in the background or the TV that was in the background. Some of those things are so etched into my psyche, and I'd guess 90 out of 100 times it was an extremely novel experience. So today I am walking the same loop. Those of you who've been kind of looking at my Summer of Transformation snaps in terms of my route that I walk, this 5-mile loop that I've been doing, are probably getting bored of it, looking at it and saying, gosh, it's the same loop day after day after day. Well, I'm looking at those from different dimensions. I'm looking at those loops from what was the duration, what was the pace, what was the calories burned. There's different data points on those things for me that are meaningful. But if you look at the picture, if you're a visual person, you're just like, oh my gosh, he's like on a gerbil wheel. So yeah, it is a bit of a gerbil wheel. It is the same weekday route when I'm here in Tampa. On the weekend, the park adjacent to where I walk is open, so I'm able to get in there and mix it up a little bit. So I enjoy that variety very, very much. So today I'm walking the same loop in the opposite direction, and I am experiencing the walk from a different perspective. And I believe that later today I will recall different memories of this walk that I didn't have the 4 other days this week that I walked this path. For example, here's the fire station. Really don't pay attention to it when I go the opposite way. I got my head down and looking ahead. We're looking at the firehouse this morning. It's kind of quiet, and we like it that way. So making the change novel, so making your change novel and finding novel ways to keep your change moving, I think will really do a couple things for us. Number one, going to keep us excited and in the game. Number two, we're going to get different insights by shaking it up. They talk about in the health journey, interval training, for example, is so helpful to our body because over time, my body's getting very conditioned to this 5-mile walk at the pace that I'm doing, and I'm going to lose the benefit, going to lose the dosage as I continue to do things the same way over and over again. Intermittent fasting is also a big rage right now, particularly for people who are insulin resistant or pre-diabetic. It shakes up the body. The body doesn't become so conditioned to the same timing of when we eat the food. So it's a good way to keep the body on its toes. So both of those are great examples out of the health experience. But what are ways that you can change up your change process? I was watching a really inspiring video last night that talked about how, the vast majority of our daily lives are like Groundhog's Day, the movie. I always loved that. I thought that was a great movie. And, main character wakes up every day, exact same time on the alarm clock, experiences the beginning of the day the exact same way. And he's trying to break out of this pattern of repeating the same day over and over again and not moving on to the next phase of his life. And I thought it was a really entertaining movie, but this morning as I was thinking about that movie and watching the video last night, it's so true. There is so much of my life that is very, very habitual. Well, as we're seeking change in a significant part of our life, we have to recognize that the results that we have are a direct result of the habitual practices that we have lived. And so it's up to us. If we want a different outcome, we have to shake it up. We have to make it novel. And so if that means in my health journey that I have to start going to a yoga class or go to a spin class or actually take a class, maybe get a trainer, do things that are different than what I'm used to. Those are the things that will ultimately benefit me in my health journey. Similarly with finances. If I have been a person who cannot bear to stand to look at what's going on with my finances and just kind of shove the bills in the corner, maybe I need to have a season where I just really kind of track what I spend. Don't limit what I spend, do things just like I've done, but just kind of write it down so that I become conscious of what I'm doing spending-wise. So my encouragement today for all of us is, as we contemplate the change, number one, make it winnable. Number two, draw inspiration and get that great content flowing to us. Maybe it's a mentor, maybe it's a person that just is really positive. And the other dimension of that is something I think is so important. You probably have heard this before, but we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And so if I'm heavy, I bet you my 5 closest friends have weight problems too. If I am unhappy with my income, I bet you the 5 closest friends of mine also struggle with money problems. Birds of a feather flock together. Well, in this case, that if we're seeking change, we've got to be seeking people who are modeling in their life the change that we most desire. We need to spend more time with them, even if that's virtual time with videos and podcasts and content they sell. Better to level up and hang out with them, because it's going to give us novel experiences, and those novel experiences are going to turn into daily action, because our thoughts precede our feelings. Thoughts, feelings, and actions all come together. So begin seeking out a different way to rewire your brain. It doesn't have to be anything related to the change that you're contemplating. Take a new route to work. Brush your teeth with the opposite hand. Make it fun. Figure out some novel things you can incorporate into your life. I want to hear about it in the comments today. Tell me one thing that you're going to try today that's different than what you normally do. And again, it doesn't have to be anything related to the change that you're contemplating or working on, but shake it up, have some fun, do something different, walk a different way, walk a different pace. Life is a game. Change is a game. With that, you guys have a great Friday, and I will talk to you tomorrow.